All right, you're welcome to the day 4 of the webinar series of Authorite Integrated. Um, I would like to first of all introduce your moderator for today. I am Abolaji Abdurrahman, and I'm so pleased and I'm so delighted to have this session with you today. Thank you for joining us from the beginning of this webinar series. We had our day 1 session on Monday where we talked about the foundations of agent core for businesses. We proceeded on Tuesday with building with Agent Core, Amazon Bedrock Agent Core, where we have hands-on session from one of AWS Hero who describe how businesses have been building intelligent applications with Amazon Bedrock Agent Core. We proceeded on that to how businesses can gain more value with Agent Core. And we are here today to talk about security, which uh, is a paramount pillar when we are talking of artificial intelligence, when we are talking of generative AI. And have I'm so pleased to present to you the speakers for today. We have Ms. Diogo Aniekwe as well as Mr. Warren Parrott. They are going to be giving us insightful experiences. They'll be presenting to us values on how you can secure your generative AI. Talking about privacy, talking about compliance on AWS. I want to believe everyone is also delighted to join this session. I would like you to tell us where you're joining us from, your name, where you're joining us from, and what you hope to get from this session. You can put that on the chat. Yeah, thank you very much for that. I won't like to waste much of our time. Would like to introduce the first speaker, the in person of Diogo Aniekwe, who will be kickstarting the session before we have Mr. Warren to talk more about this topic of today. Thank you very much. Diogo, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Abolaji. Please let me know if you can hear me.
Yeah, yeah, you loud and clear. Very well.
All right, so am I starting?
Yes, yes, we can start. Thank you very much. We can't wait
All
for
right,
your slide.
all right. Okay, so let me just share the screen and also let me know if there is any problem with the screen.
Definitely. Thank you very much.
Okay, all right. So, um, can you let me know which of my screens you can see? I have lots of screens here and I think I'm a bit confused.
So we can see the Canva screen. So you want to go ahead.
Okay, all right. So, um,
If you want to enter the full screen mode,
yeah, trying to do that. Trying to do that, but let me just exit the presentation and just share from the. Um, this kind okay, this is good, right?
yes.
All right, thank you so much. So, good day, everyone. It's supposed to be evening on my time, but I'm going to say good day depending on your time zone or where you're joining from. And like he rightly said, my name is Diogo Anyekwe. I'm a senior information security analyst at Digis. Digis is an MSSP. We provide security solutions, full scale security solutions to customers who cannot handle their own security themselves. And the topic we are discussing this evening is about generative AI. AI is the bell of the moment. It is the rave. It is the everything everybody uses, even those who are technical, those who are not, market women, traders, artisans, tech people, accountants, people from all walks of life use artificial intelligence in one way or the other, depending on their exposure and their need, which makes the whole innovation of artificial intelligence very, 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 very helpful. And it's just like it's a solution that has brought, is a technology that has brought lots of solutions to lots of problems people have. And with those benefits, with those innovation comes with its own challenges. There is nothing that has an advantage that doesn't have its own disadvantage. Even sugar sometimes can cause diabetes. So that is just what AI is, or what the whole technology of generative AI is. And that is what we're going to discuss today. We are talking about how we can secure generative AI using governance, using privacy, using compliance on AWS. So I'm going to go over a few of our discussion topics. We are first of all, before we talk about why or how we can make generative AI tools compliant, we also want to have a look at what challenges. First, there has to be, or there have to be some kind of challenges that the technology or the tool set around generative AI introduces into the ecosystem. And we look at Amazon specific artificial intelligence use cases, which is the Amazon Bedrock. It is in details, I'm going to explain it in further slides, but you know what Amazon Bedrock is just like a marketplace where you have plug and play foundational models that you can work with. And we look at the concept of security that is in Amazon Bedrock so far, that is IAM, encryption, and data privacy. We look at Amazon Bedrock Agent and Agent Core, which is part of the core tenets or discussions that has been going on under this series since it started, and we look at guardrails. This is the point where we are coming closer, or we are going to circle the topic, which is rules and regulations and how they all impact on compliance. And then we look at compliance using GDPR, for instance. We look at issues that has to do with data residency and enterprise control. Please, apology, I can't see the studio. If I am getting close to my time, like 10 minutes, just unmute yourself to let me know. All right. So, and now let's get into it. The security challenges with generative AI adoption. Now, the tool or generative AI has been so far very useful to everyone, everyone. But depending on your level of exposure, you get closer to finding out some of the issues that does not only impact on users but impact as well on the organization. Users may not be very much security mature to look at these very core security challenges, but as an organization, yeah, if you have AI adoption, you should think about AI security maturity. And that is the first part, the issue of data exposure. Now, in the world today, aside from artificial intelligence being the bell of the moment, data is the gold mine. And most times we'll have conversation around, you see a very useful application, maybe web-based, GUI based, or mobile application. Very useful, like some of those places where we can go to watch movies that we're supposed to pay Netflix to watch. We watch them free of charge. We look at some application or some web applications that do lots of very cool stuff, yet they are not paid. And you begin to wonder, what do they gain? What do they stand to gain? This is not me saying that they are after your data, but it could be. These days, data is gold mine, and who has access to data has access to money, even for companies, even for attackers, even for individuals, which makes it a very core thing in security, data protection. And this is where AI has some kind of questions that we as security people answer or ask or find answers to. How is our data protected? How much of data do we have exposed or do we feed into generative AI tools? And what impact does it have on us? We are looking at certain data exposure leaks or issues. Now, generative AI itself on its own is only a tool. What makes it very useful to you and to me and to organizations that have anything to do with generative AI is data. An AI tool is as good as the data it is trained with, and as bad as the data it is trained with. And because of how complex or how trusted or how useful they are in day to day business operation, it is easy for data to slip through the cracks. It is easy for someone to just, okay, this does not matter, or this is our own AI, or this is this, and they let something sensitive go into the pipeline. There is no way to see what, especially for some external artificial intelligence, generative AI tools out there, there is no way, if it is not the one that is built by your organization, there is no way to ascertain what your data or the prompt you give this AI, what it does with it. Companies can tell you, okay, it is safe, it is that, it is this, it is that, but there is no way for you to know if your data is actually safe. And based on these large volumes of data, there is possibility that you can get, aside from data breach, data exposure, because the way you've prompted your artificial intelligence tool to give you certain response, someone out there can also prompt it the same way to get the certain prompt that you must have given it. And this prompt might contain certain sensitive data. You have issues of even artificial intelligence programs accidentally training the models with sensitive data, and you have issues of model hallucinations. You also have issues of certain things that must have appeared on the internet being part of what this artificial intelligence program is trained with. So that is a major security challenge when it comes to artificial intelligence. Then the next part of it is more on an organization level, other than a broader category, which is issue of identity and access. Now, artificial intelligence programs, they are very high end. What I mean by that is that they are complex. They have a lot of things going on. You have the model level, you have infrastructure level, you have application level, you have the operations level, you have the user interface level, you have the agent level. There are just a whole lot going on. Now, how do you ascertain who actually has an access or who gets an access or who accessed? Unlike traditional applications or systems that it is easy for you to just have a log that sees all the events, or easy for you to configure identity and access management tools or configurations to help you look more into what is going on. AI systems are very opaque. The layers is more intense than artificial than traditional systems that are not involved or do not involve artificial intelligence. So this workflow is going to be an issue. Now, who accessed or who invoked this model? What agent invoked this workflow? What is the trigger? What permission did they use to pull the trigger? All those issues that has to do with who accessed what, why, when, are some of the things that, if not properly in check, the attackers or people with bad intentions can eventually get access to your environment and cause lots of harm. And another issue with security issue with artificial intelligence is explainability and control. Like I mentioned earlier, AI systems are opaque. There are sometimes when you can't understand why an artificial intelligence program made a certain decision. And I know you can prompt it further and it will tell you, give you certain logics why it did. But from your own human judgment, you are not able to certify or satisfy, or aside from your prompt, it can go further to look at certain context that, okay, a human can bring certain judgments to be able to say this is why and it is reasonable enough. So AI decisions, especially when you have them in your workflow, they can make certain decisions if not in configured with proper guardrails. Those decisions might not be able to be audited, and then it also gives you less visibility into the actions that is performed by your artificial intelligence platform. So now let's go into Amazon Bedrock as an AI marketplace or as an AI service. Let us look at the architecture or how Amazon Bedrock works so far with security to help developers or organizations or companies make use of well suited and highly secure artificial intelligence programs. Now, what is Amazon Bedrock? For those who are joining this program for the first time who are not technical people, it is just like, by definition, is a fully managed serverless service that simplifies building, scaling generative AI applications using top foundation models from providers like Anthropic, Meta, Mr. Amazon via a single API. It is just like model as a service. If you know what software as a service is, infra, platform, function, Amazon Bedrock is the model as a service. What does it do? It's a plug and play, meaning that instead of you to start building your own models from scratch or go to public repositories like Hugging Face to find models that have been built by people, or you can just come to Amazon Bedrock and it is fully managed, and what it does is that all you just need to do is make the API call and it will do what it is supposed to do at the time when it is supposed to do that. And for you as a developer or for you as an organization that wants to build your own custom generative AI tools, you can use Amazon Bedrock. It is very easy for you to use them. They've done the work, 50% of it, and what you just need to do as an organization is to do the configuration, do the security, and ensure that it is very much coupled with your system to give your customers that kind of personalized experience that they need when they are accessing your tools or working in your environment. And the very key thing about Amazon Bedrock is that your data stays yours. Amazon does not use your data to train any form of models or the foundation models that they use. And you have a way to make your data static, meaning that it is not stored within your environment as the data is as the prompts and responses are going on. There is no storage for it, meaning that it erases the memory of the artificial intelligence model that you're using. Your data, everything you do stays within your AWS environment. So for companies that are heavy on AWS, maybe a company that have all their environments set up on Amazon Bedrock is a very easy tool for you to use. It is already in your environment. There is no external communication or configuration whatsoever that you have to do to get it to work. The only time data leaves your environment is when you must have had some kind of security misconfiguration that allowed external people or hackers to come into your environment. And if you have your layered least privilege, layered security, at the end of the day, they may not do so much. And it is deeply integrated with other AWS services, meaning that you can have your CloudWatch, you can have your CloudTrail monitoring and auditing. You can also have your S3 to store your data. You can have your database. You can have lots of other AWS services that you are already using work closely with Bedrock. And now, so I've spoke about this, and let's go to the other part, the IAM, encryption, and data privacy in Amazon Bedrock. Now, when we talk about security in AWS generally, or we talk about security in Bedrock on a very more closer scale, identity and access management is the foundation. It is almost everything that you need to ensure that you have security. It's looking at who can use these models, how are these models used, what data can these models touch. If you have your model agent, how can they work, what triggers the workflow, what permission do they use, what identity do they use, what time. And if you have your identity and access management well designed, security on a larger scale become much easier for you to achieve. And by definition, it is identity and access management in Amazon Bedrock defines who can use the tool, what they can do with it, and under what condition. So if all these clauses or all these identifiers are not well met, you might have issues. But if you have all your identity, permissions, policies, resources, if you have everything well integrated and broken down, you are sure that you just need a few more guardrails and you have a more secure or a tighter environment with very tight security. And going on to encryption, again, Amazon generally, aside from Bedrock, is heavy too on encryption, meaning that the data that you are storing or you are working with for your Bedrock is always protected. Encryption is always on in AWS and it is also layered. And if you have, for some reasons, your Bedrock agent had to make certain communication with an external tool or services, that communication is encrypted. It uses TLS encryption, and even the prompts that will be made on the artificial intelligence generative AI agent, it will be encrypted. The model responses encrypted, the API calls encrypted, even agent interaction, everything is encrypted when they are in transit, meaning that when there is a communication coming in and going out. So this prevents any type of tampering or spoofing, or you have someone in the middle. In cybersecurity, we call it man in the middle attack. You have someone trying to spoof or sniff into certain conversations or interactions within your environment. You're sure that it is well protected from unauthorized parties. And then we have the second type of encryption, which is encryption at rest. All the data you have on your Amazon Bedrock is protected and it is encrypted. For it is encrypted either using Amazon managed keys or even more stricter encryption controls using customer managed keys. So you have all your logs, the audit logs, you have your artifacts, you have your agent configurations, you have your knowledge base, everything is encrypted at rest, either using AWS managed keys or customer managed keys. And if you're using customer management managed keys, you can always rotate, you can revoke access, you can also audit your encryption processes. And the third one is data privacy in Amazon Bedrock. What this is about, how is data isolated? Is there an issue of unauthorized data reuse? Like I said, all customer prompts or responses that are integrated, or you have an Amazon Bedrock agent that does one or two things for you on your customer side, all of those responses or all those data that is being fed, they are not reused by AWS. And I was privileged to be in one of the events hosted in Lagos here when Amazon CTO was in Nigeria, and we talked about Bedrock at length, and there was this assurance that Bedrock does not have an eye on your data. It is not being used. Your no customer AWS does not share your data with customers. The data in your Amazon Bedrock or the data integrated within the Bedrock, it is not shared with customers. And like I said, you can have an option not to persist your data. You can just have it static. Nobody, it is not being stored at the back end, even in your own environment, except maybe you want it configured. So, and you also have data retention policies. You can have your temporary data processing. You want your data to be discarded after a certain period of time, and your knowledge base as well. Knowledge base is like company data, company's proprietary data that the company uses or they use it for decision making, and maybe for some reasons it needs the generative AI tool. We need to access knowledge base at certain point in time. All those knowledge base that you have fed in or you have integrated within your AWS environment, they are safe and they are well protected. Now, moving on to the next one, talking about Amazon Bedrock Agent and Agent Core. What is Amazon Bedrock Agent? By definition, it is a fully managed service for building, configuring, and deploying autonomous agents. Sorry, I'm rushing because of time. Um, I don't want to be called upon, and I've not finished my slides. So and then it is a fully managed service for building, configuring, and deploying autonomous agents that can take actions, call API, and reason using foundational models. So it's just like a way of having building your own agents to work for on your behalf, aside from taking responses or taking prompts. Is an agent that does work. They reason, they plan, they act, they execute on your behalf. They do more than just taking prompts and bringing up responses. They can interact with API, they can pull information, they can access knowledge base, they can execute using a workflow that you must have pre-configured or predefined. They can keep track across multiple steps. They can just do a whole lot of things in your environment. And what this Amazon Bedrock agent is just like a service that helps you to be able to have your own agents that can work, take actions, and do lots of work on your behalf. And now Amazon Bedrock Agent Core is another part of Amazon Bedrock Agent. And what this is, for instance, Amazon Bedrock Agent and Amazon Bedrock Agent Core, in my own understanding, is like what Docker is for Kubernetes, or what Kubernetes is for Docker. They just work hand in hand. And the Bedrock agent being the smaller layer and the agent core being the bigger layer. And from the definition here, I said it is a service for deploying and operating AI agents at scale, meaning that if you have one or more AI agents, you can manage them, you can scale them, you can give them the necessary infrastructure within your own configuration that they need to work in your production environment. From Amazon Bedrock Agent Core, you can get features like for serverless runtime, and this can give you some long running sessions for your agent. And you can get some other modular components, you can get memories, you can get API to integration, you can get authentication, you can even get observability for your agent. And it's also help you to integrate lots of other things into your artificial intelligence framework. You can integrate Crow AI, it can integrate LangChain, it can integrate lots of other things, and security as well. If you want to have a virtual private cloud for your artificial intelligence agent, you can also get that. If you have your artificial intelligence agent communicating with an on-premise or a service that is not within AWS, and you want to have it a secure communication that doesn't go from the public internet, you can use AWS Private Link. You can also integrate certain IAM permissions and roles. And it's just like Amazon Bedrock agent creates the agent, and Amazon Bedrock Agent Core just helps you with the infrastructure, it helps you with the monitoring, operational capabilities for your agent. Now, Amazon Bedrock agents, they do not work on their own. Or let me take for instance, you might be wondering if an AI agent can do this, plan, execute, do more than prompt, is it secure? Yes, from AWS, we can say that it has security by design. And we know AWS to be a company or a provider that is very big on security. And everything AWS, every service, I'm not working for AWS, but from consistent usage and from being part of the community and knowing what is going on, AWS have certain kind of security. So whatever tool or solutions they are offering to their customers has to be secure by design. And this, for Bedrock agents, it has action control, meaning that the Bedrock agents can only perform action that it has been clearly spelled to perform. In as much as it knows what to do, it can't do something new or something that is not expected of it. And any action that your agent takes must be intentionally registered. Your team must have approved it before it can take that action, and it can only take it within specific permissions. It doesn't just wake up and work on its own. It knows what are allowed action. All those plans that it executes has to be pre-configured, and before you can start triggering the agent to start executing your workflow, you must make sure that it is already configured with security. Other than that, it only works within the context that you have already specified for it. And we have the next one is scope to access. So Amazon, they don't just get broad access to your environment. Yeah, it's only can only access, or it can only map or get access to tools that it has identity and IAM roles to access or to talk to. And then you have your roles defining what permissions, you have your roles defining what it is allowed to do, you have your roles, you have your permissions, or you have your policies telling it what to do and when to do it. In as much as it is within your AWS environment, it cannot go to S3, it cannot go to EC2, it cannot go to other places just to work on your behalf. And then auditability, every action that your agent does, because it is within AWS environment, it is auditable, meaning that you have access to the action, when it did it, why it did it, what action it performed, what permission it's used in performing that, and all those other good stuff. And then now we are into big time what we are the compliance and security measures for companies that are wanting to start using, or companies that are using Amazon Bedrock. And first thing, Amazon Bedrock has given us Amazon Bedrock Guardrail. It's just like a broad, a an even more broader rule set or pattern that you can use to have a more secure environment within your AWS. And by definition, Amazon Guardrail are safety boundaries that control what goes into a model, what comes out, and what the system is allowed to do. You can think of them as a filter. It helps you to take out, find a way or have a policy that takes out sensitive information from the non-sensitive information. It also gives you a way to enforce policies within your agent or within your Bedrock configuration, and it also helps you to control risks that can be associated with each of the layers or each of the configurations that you might have within your AWS Bedrock environment. And let me just go through the core functions of the guardrails in more detail. And let's look at it from prompts on the prompt side. Now, Amazon Bedrock is a tool that is used in building generative AI tools, meaning that you might want to build a generative AI tool for your own users within your organization, and you might also want to build it for another application that is for your customers. Either ways, whatever generative AI tool you are building with Amazon Bedrock, it might eventually receive prompts. Generative AI by design, they are supposed to be AI that can help users have that kind of human feeling or when users are interacting with it. And based on this, it takes a lot of prompts. So with the guardrails, you can be able to look at what questions are users asking, filter out what questions users are asking, and not just to look at what the model gives out, but what the model takes. And this is very important because there are some input risk that can come with prompting. That is where when I talked about prompt injection, and guardrails can help you to have a certain configuration that blocks or stops any redirection of your prompt, or some ways that users might want to use to get sensitive information or manipulate the model behavior, or just anything that could happen to the model from the input side that is not within an approved use case. And we have the next one, output filtering. So on the other side is the prompt filtering and then output. This is just like the response that the model or the AI agent or generative AI tool would give out. It wants to make sure that those responses are accurate, that the responses are properly checked and validated before they are delivered to the user. And you also want to enforce policies. You have your, based on external compliance frameworks and your organization internal compliance frameworks, you can have policies that are supposed to help your developers configure the generative AI tool they are building with Amazon Bedrock to ensure that at the end of the day, it is within the guardrail and it is within acceptable or responsible AI usage. Now, like I said, guardrail is the broader part. Then there is the part of responsible AI, and that is another part, or the more doing part of guardrail, the one that, when developers are working, this is the way that they make the guardrails come into life or come into the application, and that is what we have as responsible AI controls. So, by definition, Amazon Bedrock provides a comprehensive set of responsible AI controls designed to ensure that generative AI applications are safe, secure, and aligned with ethical standards. And what this means is that foundational models, everything that your developers are doing to make sure that this AI generative AI tool is being used by your customers or by your users are following best practices. And what are one of the ways to ensure that you can, or what are those key responsibilities that responsible AI controls offer to your organization or to your environment? First is content filter. So you can de- configure your Amazon Bedrock to be able to detect and filter certain kind of harmful content. You are looking at misconfiguration, you are looking at hate speeches, you are looking at insults, sexual content, content that are not meant for kids, content that promotes racism or tribalism and all those good stuff. You're also looking at making sure that your AI agent is able to, on their own, redact PII. That is very important. Now, there is something. This is just. I'm looking at my time. So there is something that someone I know told me. He was experimenting one of the most popular generative AI tools out there, and he was able to find out that even without hitting enter after you've prompted. You know how you type, for instance, can you tell me about the weather today? That prompt, you've not run it, you've not hit enter for the AI to process and give a response. Once that prompt has made it into the prompt box, that the tool is able to see what is there, he was just advising that we first of all redact PII in a notepad within the system before we paste it on the prompt. So these are some of those things. So when you're building your own custom generative AI tool with Bedrock, you can have these policies enforced in a way that it takes away the PII. Maybe as the user is prompting and is trying to put in PII, it can just highlight that this is a PII. Do not impute this prompt or do not run it. And then the ninth topic, there are specific topics that you might build your generative AI tool not to talk about, even if it is prompted to do so. It will just say, I can't talk about this topic, this is that, this is that. And then also word filters. You can be able to filter certain kind of words, even though it can talk about a certain topic, but you can restrict certain words from coming out of the artificial intelligence program or from getting into it. And also contextual grounding checks. This is Hallucination is one of the biggest issues with AI. If you do a work with AI without doing some source checks or confirmation checks, you might find out that you might have misled lots of people. So what makes AI misleading is the fact that it hallucinates. And with tools like, for instance, you have RAG, retrieval augmented generation, that is being embedded in most generative AI tools of these later dates. You can have the AI go to external sources, like go to Google repositories to confirm the information before it outputs it as a response to the user. And then automated reasoning checks. You want to make sure that your artificial intelligence program, that your generative AI tool you're building with Bedrock, is able to, if its accuracy at the back end does not meet, for instance, 99.999% accuracy, it should not be able to come out or become a response to the user. And now, on the last part, we're talking about compliance, GDPR, data residency, and enterprise control. So, Amazon Bedrock has a way of supporting on a larger scale GDPR. So it is well aligned with GDPR for AI deployment, privacy, and control. And there are certain GDPR principles that are supported, which as an organization, you don't need to be within the European Union. You can be in Nigeria using our NDPR. You can be in Ghana. You can be in the US, in Canada, in Australia, in different countries of the world, and you can also adopt GDPR. But if you are within European Union, it is almost like a must for you. But at the end of the day, general practice, you can apply it wherever you are, which makes them like gold standard. The first one is data minimization. It allows you to know the data that can even get into the model or can be prompted into the model in the first place. You're not required to get more information in when you're trying to consider your model. You're not required to get more information that is needed within your AWS environment. And then second one is right to audit. You should be able to make sure that all the prompts and responses is auditable. People can have a look at it for due diligence and also for security. And encryption, I talked about encryption as part of the core tenet of AWS. And access login as well. That is another part of auditability. That is IAM, who logged in, who logged out, what did it do, and what you, other things you do with Cloud3 and unauthorized data you reuse. If you have your AI, generative AI agents talking to customers or being like a customer support to customers where they get data, that data stays within the agent. It cannot be reused. Your company cannot reprocess that data for whatever reason, except when there is a strict need to do that. And now I have one slide left, so just give me time. I have 1 minute. So the last part is data residency. This shows that data has to be within geographical region or geographical boundaries. So if you are building an AI tool or a tool that serves people in the US, you have to use US regions. You can't use Nigeria, even if the company is in Nigeria. If the company is in the UK and it's serving people in the US, it has to be within their region to ensure that data is kept there. And that is also why how AWS supports this. You can always choose your region whenever you are deploying your Bedrock agents or your configuration, and AWS will help you keep data within that region. And also, they also give recommendations that align with the local regulations that is within your region. And now the last one, enterprise governance control. So enterprise, for instance, if you're within the European Union and you use GDPR, for instance, your company can now build their own more detailed granular policies based on that. And this is what developers or your engineers will have to work on day to day. At the end of the day, it meets company compliance goals, and it also meets the general compliance goals, that is the general law of the land or law of the industry. And some of the key controls that you can have is centralized logging. You want to make sure that all your everything that is within your environment is logged in some S3 bucket or is properly logged there. And this is for auditability purposes or for compliance. And then there's this policy as code. You have a way of reusing your AI policies. You can define your policies as code and make sure that it is reusable, meaning that if I have certain deployments today, I can use it tomorrow. I can also use it to make sure that since we've already put in the guardrails in the first policy as code, we can just reuse that guardrails and then avoid us wasting time or having configuration drifts. And then continuous compliance monitoring. You also have to make sure that even after your deployment, you can still keep ensuring monitoring to ensure that everything is still going on within the required compliance framework. So yeah, I only spent 1 minute. So this is the last, and thank you so much, Apology, for giving me this opportunity to talk about this topic. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Diogo, for the insightful session. I believe the audience has been able to gain practical security best practices. When talking about generative AI, you talked about the encryption and data privacy in Bedrock. You also mentioned of guardrails and how we can use the artificial intelligence in a more responsible way, and some other compliance key point that you mentioned. Thank you very much for that beautiful presentation. And I would like to call upon our second speaker, in person of Mr. Warren Parrott. Are you here, Mr. Warren? I'm sorry. Sorry, I can't hear you, Mr. Warren. If you can hear me. Sorry, can you hear me? Okay. You can sit down, bro. All right. So, Mr. Warren, we have some questions we would like to ask you.
Okay.
Can I go ahead? Okay, good. So, first of it, somebody is asking that how do you help compliance team get more comfortable when you're talking about generative AI, when they ask where does our data go and who can see it? Compliance team can be very, very questioning in this time of regard. So how do you get them more comfortable?
Well, I think what's important here is to be able to distinguish whether you're talking about compliance or security. And that starts to go down the path of, in order to actually apply the changes or guardrails or whatever your organization has put in place, is going to put you down a different path. The compliance path, there may be the tools available, there may be the interactions or interfaces that Bedrock or Agent Core offers you to make your company or the product that you're offering to your customers align with whatever your compliance goals are. And that can be different than how you actually go in practice to make your application secure. So you really need to think about, what is your end goal here? Is it check boxes? Is it to make your customers be able to sign off on some sales or RFP process to start using your application? Or are you actually worried about malicious attackers attempting to steal the data in your application? And I think that's where there's a lot of differences that come into play.
Definitely, it has to be in a specific angle to give them that desirable satisfaction. So, we have another question here. It's saying, from your experience as a current technical leader, what are the most underestimated security risks that organizations face when moving from proof of concept to production in Gen AI?
Yeah, so I think this is what we saw, during the presentation a little bit, is if we're really talking about security, and as soon as we bring models into the story, you have to worry about two cornerstone aspects. The first one is just regular hallucinations. The way the models are designed is based off of the transformer architecture, which means they just predict outcomes, predict words. And so from that regard, fundamentally, you always have to worry that the accuracy just isn't there. And that in a way could result in, if you're utilizing the outputs from the models in some programmatic way, actually performing the wrong interaction within your product, which could expose data to someone who's trying to extract information. The most common one is getting the system prompt information, et cetera. The other one is prompt injection attacks. And I don't really like this term anymore. It's really more about service vulnerabilities. It's convincing the model to actually apply changes to your product, to the data that you own, in a way which you don't intend to. So move money between two financial accounts. And if you are allowing user input to go directly against your model in any way, you have a security vulnerability, because these models don't have any sort of security built in fundamentally. Yeah, they have compliance built in. Maybe there's certain topics that they refuse to talk about or how they discuss them. We see differences between the models, between the different providers, even ones from different cultures across the world. But fundamentally, if you allow those models to get user input and then you take that output from the model and you utilize it in any way, you could have a problem there. And I think those are the two underestimated aspects fundamentally.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. We have some other questions I would like to ask because we're very getting close to the end of this session. But I would like to ask, what's your approach to balancing content safety and business usability, especially in most regulated industries? I would like to take that again. Like, what's your approach in balancing content safety, and also business usability, especially in regulated industries?
I think that's one of those things that I'm going to have to say it depends. So, maybe realistically, you have to focus on what is your industry, what is the angle that is actually most valuable to target and go after there. Maybe there's an angle that we can utilize to narrow down the topic in some way. And I think that's most fundamental. What are we even talking about? Don't just throw arbitrary solutions at the problem because another company came up and said, hey, this works great in our, marketing vertical for our customers, for our product. And you then just go out and replicate that. I don't think there's anything specific here that's for utilizing models in the world. It's no different than you see a competitor out there and they have a similar product to yours and you go and you copy what they're doing. You really need to think about what is most important for you and go after that rather than just cargo culting.
All right. Thank you for those valuable points. I believe those asked those questions will be able to get answers to their questions. But before we go, would like to ask this last question, if you're not annoyed. How can generative AI systems be designed to support GDPR requirements such as data minimization and right to erasure?
I think this goes to Diogo's slide, so maybe she wants to jump in and
Okay,
share an
okay.
answer
Diego,
there.
would you like to answer that last question?
Okay, yeah. Now, for security, it's not like GDPR is going to send their professionals to come to your organization to enforce those rules. No, they just give you framework. This is by our research, this is what we think, or this is our laws. Laws are always final, and when it has to do with data, there are certain agencies and organizations and even law of the land has to protect user safety, and that is what you do with their data. What they do is give you the framework. Your organization goes down to design how they want to comply, what patterns they want to follow to comply on that. And based on these organizational goals or organizational rules, it now boils down to the developers. This is the GRC team has brought down the compliance. These are for this configuration, these are the things that we need to do to stay within the guardrails. Now, for the enforcing, it is now the people, the developers, the people who are working in the tool that will now follow that best practice. So at the end of the day, it translates to good configuration, it translates to organizational goals and laws, and then it translates back to GDPR. And vice versa. Data erasure, if for instance there was a case where I knew that a user was asked to write to OpenAI to erase a certain data she uploaded there, and OpenAI has to respect that right to data erasure because they are also serving users within the EU region, right? So at the end of the day, it is the user's choice. You have to tell them what their data is used for, and eventually you work on these data processes between the overall general GDPR framework and then translate it to your own organizational, very much detailed security goals and security regulations and principles. I don't know if I did justice to that, Warren.
No, I think you're definitely on the right track there. I think one of the most important things is actually utilizing any sort of, we'll call them AI system, but really LLMs, is that they're just a computational model. They just compute things, and so there's no storage built into them. There's no, specific memory that's being utilized unless you add these additional systems. You add the resource augmented generation through RAG. You add, semantic search or some other databases to it. You add specific memory. Those things just don't come out of the box. You don't really have anything to worry about there because there's nothing being stored. But as soon as you have these other systems, it's no different than any other, software product system that you build. It's exactly the same in every way. You're using OpenSearch or using Postgres or DynamoDB, et cetera, to store this data in. Well, then you know how you have to deal with it in those cases. So there's something really special here.
All right. Thank you very much. We can't thank you enough for your time, for joining us in this day 4 of this webinar series. I would like to appreciate Diogo Anikwe, senior security analyst, who has been able to do justice to this topic, as well as Mr. Warren Parad, who has also accepted our invitation and has been able to give answers to some questions from our audience. Thank you very much for joining once again, and to our audience who'll be staying with us from day 1 till this moment. Thank you, and definitely we're going to have the last webinar series tomorrow, and we'll be talking about business adoption. I will be joining you with Dr. Paul Adereju on that session tomorrow. Thank you very much once again for joining us, and see you tomorrow. Bye.